Hey, Sully. It's again got two new partners in crime, Aaron and Paul.
Hello.
Not the actor, Aaron Paul. But yes, they are from AVP Galaxy.
Adam, actually.
Adam. Fuck. I always get everyone's name wrong. God damn it. Son of a bitch. Maybe I'm a mad scientist.
It's nice to not know we're not the only ones who fluff up the openings.
That's a blooper. I love it. I'm keeping it. But yeah, they got some great AVP merchandise in the background. No one can see this, but altogether, we love uniting just like all kinds of fans across our actual galaxy, and we love also just discussing like how the fans are still out there, how everyone's forgetting, hey, this started back when we only had Laserdisc, VHS, and something pre-Game Boy, See all this fandom and how it's evolved and how most of these comics are actually like unavailable. Like Marvel owns all the Fox products now and they haven't done anything with it really.
I mean, to be fair, they've at least put out the Alien stuff and the Predator stuff, but AVP, that's still sat locked away in Marvel's vault somewhere.
Yeah, they've started with Alien and Predator. When the license changed hands, they did mention AVP in the press release, but we have yet to see any Alien versus Predator releases from them. Really, since the merger, the only thing AVP we've gotten is, I think there was one last one from Dark Horse, but really just there was a couple Titan books. But
yeah, there was omnibuses and then Sandtrap and whoever went. Yeah, is like they had like Frill the Hunt and Whoever Wins, which were like tie-ins to the infamous movies. And then after Sandtrap and Omnibus, they did Civilized Beasts, 3 World Wars, Special Collectors Edition, Fire and Stone, Life and Death, and Thicker Than Blood. I know I'm cheating a little here, guys, because I got a list in front of me, but a good chunk of these. Last time we had some pals, we talked about the initial run with Corey on Podcasting After Dark. We talked about how it all began in like '89 with a black and white comic, and then Aliens versus Predator in 1990, and then another short story, and then that all merged together, and they just kept following it up with other short stories and even other one-offs like Blood Time, Booty, and Duel and War. But what are your personal favorites besides from those initial 90s ones continuing the story and some of the other ones trying to patch in side characters from the movies?
See, the easy answer to this one is always the initial one, but there's never as many AVP ones as there is Alien and Predator, so the catalog's a lot smaller,
right? That's what I was looking at too. Is like the Predator ones are mainly just versus matches, and the Alien ones are once again just kind of just origin stories or side stories or the original William Gibson script for Alien Free, reanimated.
Great project, by the way. I wish they'd done more with that before Dark Horse lost their license.
No, it was very reminiscent of what's his name? Have you heard of Harlan Ellison?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, big sci-fi writer. Was like consultant on Babylon 5, adapted
Didn't he sue James Cameron, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yes, coincidentally he did. Yeah, because he wrote the Outer Limits story that was very, very similar to the Terminator, and James had never even seen that episode, and he just let the lawsuit, go on because he's like, I can't. It was a low budget $2 million movie in '80s dollars. He wasn't going to risk losing and compromising his budget. But but Harlan Ellison was asked back when they were still doing some Star Trek comics to adapt his original version of the classic Star Trek City on the Edge of Tomorrow episode, which is a fan favorite. It's very well written, but like many Star Trek writers, he would disown his version of the script or go under a different name because he didn't like the changes the producers made. So it is interesting how kind of like how we're seeing various directors disown certain movies and writers say, well, I'm going to counter what the filmmakers who adapted my work said. It's kind of interesting seeing how AVP kind of just kept taking form. Like Ridley Scott acknowledged that, the Wayland Yutundi is the same as the Replicant Company in the Blade Runner films. That was a long fan theory, and he confirmed it. But then it's kind of wild how they did this AVP versus Terminator, because James Cameron, initially intended Cyberdyne to be in the Alien script, and there was a few video games that have some Arnold-like characters.
Yeah, Bishop was originally
Dutch is kind of probably a Terminator in disguise.
But, I mean, in terms of favorites, though, other than the original, Duel is always a win, which is the debut of the Predalien. I have a soft spot. I have a soft spot for 3 World War. Not many people do, but I
just
really
going at
like
the end of it in 2010, kind of. Yeah.
I like it as a wrap up for Machiko's storyline, and the artwork was an acquired taste in that one.
Nice. So Machiko, that Japanese character, is continued here.
Yeah, so she's in AVP War and then 3 World War, and it sort of wraps up her storyline, which was a great one. In my opinion, a lot of people were turned off by the artwork in that one because it's very, it's a
good story. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's not detailed, but I look at it as like a fog of war kind of vibe to the artwork, so I really like it.
It had some great panels. It was just a bit cartoony in some areas, I thought, for people.
Over exaggerated, I guess, like a Deadpool kind of thing.
I'm not sure I'd go that. I mean, it doesn't look as detailed. Like there's, I still remember when, back in 2010, when the initial previews went up for it, and there's like a money shot of like first 5 pages of the first issue, and it looks like it looked like Rick Leonardi was using Kenner figures as reference. That's how detailed it sort of looked.
Nice.
But then for me, last one is Dark Horse went out on a bang. An absolute banger of a story. Thicker Than Blood was fantastic in my opinion.
That's nice.
For my favorites, I'd probably say it was those sort of comic. Oh, and Eternal. I've got to mention Eternal. Eternal's a brilliant one. Nice. I know Adam. That one's going to be on Adam's list because
that's on my list. I think that's probably
So that was after 98. So that was after they had wrapped up the initial storyline with Blood Time, Booty, Duel, and War. And that was like the main one, just to show, hey, the Predators are trying to extend their life and go on a hunting party one more time.
Yeah, Eternal was kind of its own thing compared to those earlier ones. It was like near future instead of like the more aliens set future. So I always loved Eternal. I loved the art. I loved the story in that one. It was just very much comic book feeling without pushing that too far. It still felt grounded in the AVP stories, but it was something different and kind of refreshing than we had gotten before. I still love the original. Like I don't know. I think the original might be my favorite, having just read that again recently. But I also am with you, Aaron, that last one they went out on was just so good. The Thicker Than Blood. That's also one of my faves.
Yeah, so that is the last one to date. Thicker Than Blood ran from 2019 to 2020, and then COVID fucked our world up. Man, altogether, what's really kind of standing out from that? Just like what can occurs in Thicker Than Blood?
It's different, I think, is one of the appeals to it.
Well, I mean, no, just kidding.
Well, I mean, let's mention the artwork first, because it reunited one of Aliens' probably best artists, Doug Wheatley. It brought Doug Wheatley back to the Alien franchise, and he had done.
He had done the initial run.
Destroyed. No, it was one of the ones towards the end. It was Aliens Destroying Angels.
Apocalypse. Okay. Because we were looking at some of the ones on the initial run when this first began, and like they had worked on plenty of other giant key Dark Horse stuff as well as video game adaptations, and it was like, what? And I was just so blown away. I'm like, I actually read those other ones. I had no idea.
There's a lot of great pedigree with the people that have worked on the various Alien and
they wanted to be just as good. Yeah,
I think Doug had made it pretty big on. I think it was some of Dark Horse's Star Wars stories and stuff like that. But he'd only ever done Destroying Angels, I think. And it'd come back for, I think, a random variant cover. But then they brought him back for this last AVP series. And Doug's artwork is just fucking gorgeous. They had Rain Burrito doing the colours for that series as well. And Rain had done an Alien series not long before that as well, Dust to Dust. And I think was Raina Woman, I think it was. Yeah, her style was gorgeous. There was a very, it brought a texture. The colouring brought a texture to the artwork, and it was gorgeous. So just from a visual point of view, Thicker Than Blood was brilliant. But what the writer, and I'm blanking on his name now, he'd done a few Star Wars stuff as well. But he did something very different. It wasn't redoing what Randy Stradley had done. It wasn't doing a hunt and some, Machiko decides she wants to get in with the predators and stuff like that. It was very much
anything for you, man. No, yeah,
it was very much just a survival sort of story on this random spaceship with these fuck ups of predators. They weren't hardcore predators following like they were
rejects.
Yeah, basically they were a group of rejects, and everything just got fucked up, and that's a succinct way of summing up Thicker Than Blood. Everybody's fucked up. It's about dysfunctional families. It's about dysfunctional groups. And there's just some gorgeous artwork to go along with it. And it's violent as fuck as well.
Not only with the Predator characters, but the humans are kind of a dysfunctional family. And the setting of just this cruise ship in space run by this family was really interesting. Aaron, the author was Jeremy Barlow.
I was just having a look at the
I remember that name, but I forget. Did he do the initial stuff or did he do something else?
This is the only AVP story he did. He did write So, you were talking about William Gibson's adaptation.
Yes.
They were also working on a adaptation of an earlier version of Predator, the Predator scripts. And he did the adaptation for that, but it never got released because of COVID and then the Disney and the Marvel stuff, unfortunately.
Oh,
yeah, he'd worked on some Star Wars stuff. He'd worked on Mass Effect.
That's what I was saying too. There was a lot of Star Wars stuff. There was a lot of RoboCop and even Splinter Cell, as some of the artists had worked on. I was like, whoa, they've done a lot of video game adaptations and
some great pedigree.
Some of the new Avatar comics too. Jeremy's been working on those.
Oh, nice. All right. And how about the video games? Because that's kind of the biggest deal for me. Like the one I saw advertised the most, like I had pals talking in the 2000s in junior high and high school who would play the various games, but that's what blew my mind was how the first AVP game was in 99. The Predator 2 Easter egg had been enough just before they became movies. And the next thing you know, in 2000, they do a Alien Resurrection game, which extends parts of like canceled scenes in the original script and everything. There had been an Alien trilogy that made sense to me because that was around the same time as Die Hard trilogy and a bunch of other just movies and shows that would be summed up in a cool PlayStation 1 video game. But yeah, AVP video games, like I couldn't keep up with them, but I would see them at, dominating all the different, Toys R Us shelves and everything. I was like, whoa, what is this? There's AVP 2 from 01, then there's Primal Hunt. I remember that from 02. And then Extinction, that was on a bunch of different ones. But I think, what goofed it up for me was I was so confused. There's 2 AVP 2s, and then there's all these other Aliens games, and
there's a few different AVPs. Actually, right, just Alien AVPs. Adam, why don't you?
I mean the AVP. Sorry, go ahead.
I knew a pal in high school who would play the shit out of Predator Concrete Jungle just because he liked the gore, but he didn't think it was actually a good game. And I was like, then why are you playing it?
It does have some good gore at least, but yeah, I mean the AVP games were such a core part of AVP as a franchise. I mean, arguably just as much as the comics. I mean, that's kind
Star Wars extended universe kind of.
Yeah. It's kind of what started our whole website as well, was just a resource for AVP 2, which was the one by Monolith in 2001. And it was just such a popular PC multiplayer shooter at the time, as well as a single player game. That's kind of what kicked us off. And then Rebellion came back to it because they did the the Jaguar one initially, and then one for the PC in '99. The first AVP game, though, was actually the Super Nintendo one, and I didn't initially know that. That was before the Jaguar one. But Rebellion would come back in 2010 to do another AVP for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Nice.
And that was really the last mainline AVP game we got. We had a mobile one a couple of years later, AVP Evolution, which was fun, which was great, but far from like the kind of AAA game, we had previously. So it's been over a decade, man, since we've had a proper AVP game, and we're definitely thirsting for it, I would say, at this point.
Definitely.
Nice.
I mean, there's been a nice variety of them as well. You mentioned Extinction, and that is July. That's hitting its 20th anniversary.
That's
Yeah, it's been a fucking while. And, that was an RTS. Adam mentioned Evolution. That was an iOS, an Android sort of third person kind of adventure fighter thing.
Right.
There's been a couple of side scrolling beat 'em ups. And of course, the FPSs were the most popular. You mentioned the 99 one and AVP 2. And then, but even before that, Adam mentioned there was the Jaguar version, and that was like the shining jewel of the Atari Jaguar that failed, what have you. But that game when would that have been, about 95, something like that,
I think so. Yeah, the franchises were trying Joel Silver and a bunch of other producers. Jim Davis, I know, is like the only producer consistently involved with the franchise. But
yeah, John Davis is just everywhere when it comes to Predator. It really is.
Totally.
I don't think the AVPs would have happened without him.
Definitely not, especially with how involved he is on the special features, and then bringing back other TV shows like The Player and with Wesley Snipes, and the Shaft franchise, keeping that alive also. So yeah, but so the only any remotely game I've played of this has been much like how there was a Rambo arcade game in recent years, back like since '08, and a Terminator Salvation game that was really fucking cool. I played a Aliens inspired arcade shoot 'em up. I think there's two different ones I've played, but
there's Extermination and Armageddon.
So. Yeah,
I think it might be Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon was later rebranded as Covenant, but it was the same game. But I like that one. Aaron's not as much of a fan because it's very comic booky in style.
I love Extermination. Extermination's brilliant. It's just the right feel of Alien in a light gun arcade cabinet, basically.
Brilliant. Then it might be Armageddon then, because it's way more recent, but it is exaggerated in some cases. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, the animation kind of reminded me of the longtime Star Trek Voyager arcade game I used to play too at every other bowling alley.
Star Trek Voyager arcade game.
Yeah, it was back in like late 2000s, or no, early 2000s, and I was blown away by it because it was very interactive. Basically, you're just going ship to ship, blasting away Borg, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I played a bit of the Elite Force shooters on PC, but I hadn't heard of an arcade game for Voyager.
I was cool to talk about it because that's all kind of they're all one giant sci-fi or action franchises that you kind of all secretly wish they were in the same universe. But I'd keep buying extensions to like Starfleet Command, the first game, and for whatever reason it just would freeze up on me, and I didn't have the right, I think, gaming system with it or controls, because something kept going to shit. But that was as much fun as I had, because much like the Terminator, they kind of varied in terms of what good games they had, even though some of them sounded fun on paper or were cool for initial fans. But yeah, I mean, I kept seeing the promo trailer for Predator Hunting Grounds, which had Arnold do a cameo as Dutch, a voice cameo, and it seemed like everyone was mixed on it, but it seemed like that kind of, I saw a lot of people, I know everyone's mixed on the Predator from the movie the same year, but
Well,
like,
I wouldn't say mixed. I think most people unanimously
I actually
hate
dug it,
Predator.
but I understand that it's
in
not
the corner.
Oh, that's it.
It did have its defenders for sure. As far as Arnold's coming back for Hunting Grounds, though, I think a lot of fans were really praising that. I mean, that's the first time Dutch had returned significantly as a character.
Yeah, I know.
Since,
I saw a lot of people smack talking it on YouTube. There's like, a movie's bad if the actor's in the game and not the movie. I'm like, oh my God, just play the game or don't.
We'll return after these messages.
Hello and welcome to Culture Shocked, the pop culture podcast brought to you by four aging millennials and our outdated opinions. Join us every Tuesday as we discuss movies, TV, games, and even music, new and old.
Dude, what do you think you're doing?
Are you seriously trying to record a promo without us right now?
Well, yeah?
Dude, you can't just do the promo by yourself. Who's gonna listen to that?
Yeah, and you probably haven't even told them that we're a pop culture podcast where we always agree on everything. For instance, the Sam Raimi trilogy easily being the best of the Spider-Man movies.
No. But I think we can all agree that Jaws is a classical masterpiece.
Nope, don't like that. But we do all agree that the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is the best in the Skywalker saga, right, guys?
That comment is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to
Anyways, that'll do it from all of us here at Culture Shock. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
We let things pile up in the DVR, we add them to our queues, we wait for the DVDs and Blu-rays. We time shift. The Time Shifters Podcast. Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, superheroes, comedy, action, film, television, maybe some not-so-current events. Find us on iTunes or at timeshifterspodcast.com.
Cool thing about Blind Knowledge is we are in multiple countries. We are worldwide all across the globe. We are in the US, we are in the UK, we are in Canada, Germany, India, Japan. We're in Australia, y'all. BlindKnowledge.com. Now back to the feature presentation.
There's plenty of bad movies that have good games. Name plenty of James Bond movies.
Well, yeah, GoldenEye. Hunting Grounds did a fantastic job emulating, an exaggerated arcadey gameplay loop that then takes a serious turn when the Predator shows up. In the early days, that was a lot of fun. Adam, you and I probably smashed the hell out of that game.
Way too many hours.
It was. Why was everyone so cynical about it? I mean, they gave them practically what they want, and every other game system, like in Electronic Gaming Monthly, and seems to be talking shit about it. Like IGN doesn't like it, but Game Informer does. I know something's weird there.
Well, I think Hunting Grounds was a little sabotaged too by the fact that it had a really solid foundation, but over time they really stopped developing significant content for it. I mean, you'd still see the occasional DLC with like a single character, but you'd stop seeing weapons, you'd stop seeing gameplay balance updates, you'd stop seeing like new maps or a new game.
They half-assed it like after a few weeks, basically.
Maybe not after a few weeks, but the lawsuit could have tripped them up as well. There was a big significant lawsuit. Well, the writers of the original Predator, Jim and John Thomas, there was kind of a copyright battle over Disney's new ownership, because in the States, after 30 years, it goes back to the original owner unless some agreement is in place. So they were fighting to have that back, and apparently they did come to some arrangement before Prey came out. The details of that are not really public, but
yeah, it was basically like
sad. I hate it when writers get fucked. Even because
I don't know if they got fucked. They probably got a lot of money.
Well, no, I mean initially, but I know what you mean. But like, it's just like you would think would be like second nature. If everyone else can be, not even have to think about, hey, there's a new property, and we credit George Lucas based on Star Wars, created by George Lucas. It's like that's second nature. But there's so many other movies and shows I've seen do that, and it's like, well, they're using the likeness of the characters, so yeah, even if they don't have shit to do with it, they should still get a writer credit based on characters created by. But there's always someone trying to kick that, and it's like writers get basically 50 cents after 5 years, however old it is. So why cheat them?
I mean, I think Jim and John did get credits in all of them, but I think this was just the lawsuit was them. It was
protecting themselves.
That's what that copyright clause was in the American law for. To renegotiate the terms of what they would get back from all the films and the bits and bobs. But unfortunately, we don't know what the terms of the settlement were, but we do know there was casualties of the lawsuit, and Ilphonic's never really spoken about it, but I think it's fair to assume that the lawsuit really did stick a wrench in the works of Hunting Grounds. And it's a shame because that was. It was fun. There was, like Adam said, there was good.
I mean, it still has
foundation
a player base. You can still get on and play rounds and not really have much trouble finding matches. So it's the first time we had seen like a Predator-focused multiplayer game have kind of the reach that did. So I'm really hoping that either they or someone else does another one. As much as I would love to see AVP again, there have been some really interesting like Alien games. Like Aaron and I have played Fireteam Elite a bunch.
Hopefully, this new Alien show will reignite interest.
Yeah, next year is the 45th anniversary of the original Alien, so we could be seeing a new movie and a new series at that time. So that would be really cool.
Totally. It's funny, on a sidetrack, have you noticed how they took a while to even involve Sigourney Weaver and Michael Bihn's personas, and even Lance Henriksen as Bishop for a while? It seems like he was like the only one they could get because he's a character actor, but everyone loves Lance Henriksen. That'd be cool if he was playing Frank Black for once, fighting aliens better. But
I never did finish watching Millennium. I couldn't get past season 1. Fix
it. Or at least watch the X-Files crossover episode he's on. Anyway, yes, they're in the same universe. But Aliens Fireteam Elite, I noticed it's just really been like taken off. Like everyone seems pretty satisfied with that. Which is wild because I know there was even like another like Terminator game also that kind of came and went. So it seems like
Resistance.
I think so, and it's interesting how that one kind of was similar to the Predator one you just described, where it's just like it was out for a hot minute and then it kind of stopped being updated regularly just because it's just an independent game contractor. But it is interesting how it just keeps changing. Like we never know who's going to do what or promote what or own what. And some of these game companies, I've always wondered what's happened to them because it seemed like they were kind of heavily involved in some other programming and then kind of vanished.
Well, it's like you said, Fireteam Elite's been pretty well received, actually. I mean, there's some people who aren't massively fussed on it because it is...
Were they playing Isolation instead? I noticed that's the one.
Isolation is a golden goose of Alien, to be fair.
All right.
Very good game Isolation.
So what's the one that's very infamous? Is like Extraction or something?
That would be Colonial Marines.
Colonial
that is
Marines.
the most
Okay, so that's the one
infamous of the Alien games.
Okay, so that is the one I'm getting mixed up with because he's got a cat there attacking the alien. Careful.
Oh,
Adam's screaming.
That's right. It's my cat back there.
But
hybrid coming up.
Isn't it interesting though how they took a while to involve Sigourney Weaver in the development of this, and she kind of had a similar deal with the Ghostbusters games. They were like, for whatever reason, they were like, "Oh, we can afford Ernie Hudson and Bill Murray. We can't afford Sigourney." It's like, yes, you can.
So in the development of what?
She was in Isolation.
Ghostbusters games. Yeah.
Oh, really? The new one, the Ilphonic one?
Well, one of the new ones, I know they used some new voiceover work.
Oh, interesting.
But
I haven't really kept up with.
Wasn't Afterlife like a Ghostbusters video game?
I think that's what it was too. Yeah, she was in one of them, but for whatever reason, they didn't hire her right away. And it's like I would think that'd be.
I think Afterlife was the new movie, wasn't it?
Oh no, Afterlife it was the new movie, but there was
Yeah.
like a new Ghostbusters game as well as a new Aliens game that I think she was doing a voiceover work on. But it's just interesting how you would think that'd be priority number one, try and get the voice actor back or the actual actor back, unless you just got a cheaper alternative. But yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, funny thing is they've got one of those for Alien. For Sigourney.
Anyone?
No, Adam, you're not thinking what I'm thinking of?
No, what are you thinking of?
Oh, come on. So
Tara Strong? I don't know.
No, a few years ago.
Oh, that's right. The audio dramas.
Is with it now, yeah. A few years ago, they started doing audio dramas for Alien, and they have a actress called Laurel Lefkow, whose Ripley is absolutely spot on. She sounds so much like Sigourney.
A freaking 70s show actress? Wow. Okay.
She's, I think, I don't recognize her from that. Laurel Lefkow.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, sorry, my bad. From Roseanne. Oh my god. Wow.
And she just sounds so much like Ripley. But no, she's only done the audio dramas so far. She's been in 2 or 3 of them, I think. But they haven't made any of those for far too long now, unfortunately. But yeah, if they ever needed a Ripley and they didn't want to get Sigourney in, Laurel's right there. She just sounds so perfect.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, they got Ripley back for Isolation. They got Sigourney back for Isolation, which was cool, but it was only like a little piece of DLC, just like a random missions based on the original film. And they got everybody back who was alive, other than at the
anyone
time.
who will actually come back. Yeah.
Well, I think it was literally everybody who was alive from the cast, other than Ian Holm. I think, and they had to get somebody else to sort of do the best Ian Holm impression for that one. But that made the Alien DLC for Isolation really fun. You know, it added a nice layer of authenticity to it. And like you said, Lance Hendrickson is in pretty much anything that says Alien on the tin.
Yeah, he won't turn down a paycheck, and everyone loves working with him. So yeah,
it's always great to hear his voice in them as well.
Oh, totally. He and Tony Todd from Star Trek and Candyman. You know, is that they are 2 of my golden ones. Them, Michael Ironside. Yeah, there's all these guys who, you know, can just make anything better than it already is. You know,
Lance was the bad guy in.
AVP?
One of the Call of Duties, was he?
Yes,
that's right. Modern Warfare 2. I don't know if I'd call it modern anymore since it was 2009, but
well, they're dealing still with pretty modern stuff. It hasn't really changed all that much.
But yeah, he played
General Shepard.
That's right.
General Shepard. I was cursing him out as he's killing me on screen. I'm like, no, you motherfucker.
Lance is in everything. Was he in something called? Was it Red Factor or something?
I think
like
so.
That,
yeah, it was. And believe it or not, Jason Statham did a voiceover for it. I think.
Of course.
Yeah, he's also in the original Call of Duty. It's funny spotting his voice back when it was World War II. But have you ever been to any conventions or panels? It seems like there is always someone who does a kick-ass like Predator or Alien costume. or they'll dress up as Colonial Marines or even Starship Troopers and get together and pose.
Oh yeah, there's some well-known costuming groups.
Really?
In the UK, the US, and Australia and Germany, they're all like.
Hopefully, they're better than the Star Wars ones because there was a lot of snobs here in the States who decided, you're not a real stormtrooper if you don't have the actual armor from the UK sets. I'm like, buddy, what crazy fan has $1 million to ship that shit over here?
I've heard terrible things about some chapters of the 501st, but yeah, they
I'm glad I didn't join them because, like, I would even see some of them be snobs to each other online to where I'm like, this is a dangerous crowd. Fandom has a limitation, you know? It should be fun.
I mean, the alien folks that I've run into have not been like that.
I have never, out of all the opinionated, especially sci-fi and horror movies, I have never seen, Trekkies can disagree, but I've never seen them, punch each other. And yeah, AVP is much the same. As many people are opinionated on the various sequels, I've never seen any of them just be like, "Oh, it sucks, has no relevance." It's for choir boys. I've never seen anybody just.
I'm sure there's some corners of Facebook somewhere where there are folk like that.
As bad as I've seen it be, probably Hellraiser and Terminator can get really shitty after a while. People act like if you like anything past this sequel, you're not a real fan. And it's like, well, to each their own, buddy. I don't like the new Star Wars movies, but that doesn't mean anyone's less of a fan or more of a fan. It's like you like what you like, but it's. I like the new Star Wars shows, but yeah, it's interesting how it's like fandom. Well, it used to be agree to disagree, and now it seems to just be very explosive at times. Like there are some movies and shows that I just don't like because the fans are so shitty to one another, like Rick and Morty, where I'm like, hey, it's well made and everything, but because you guys will not let these arguments die, you're really killing the fun here.
Sometimes fans can get a bit too wild with that.
I think that's just discourse online anyway.
I mean, that's how it's been.
Especially is like ridiculous. It's like everyone's arguing about whether Myers is immortal or not. I'm like, why are we here? Can we move on, please?
As far as conventions go, Alien and Predator and AVP, as popular as they are not really big as big
That's what
as
I've
like
noticed
Star
too.
Wars and Star Trek.
It's
like
big, but it's like a cult underground kind of like you'll even see certain. Why do you think it is that certain genre fans hate crossovers with other genres, and then other times they're cool with it if it's something like Tarantino? It's like, do you guys? I feel like everyone's forgetting what a certain genre is. I'm like, if there's a bunch of shootouts and explosions, you can call that action, even if it's not every scene. If it's got some terror or a serial killer villain, or an unstoppable ghost, I'd call that horror. In sci-fi and fantasy, you can call if it's got orcs and Jedi wizards, it's just...
I mean, I think some crossovers do work. I mean, you look at even Freddy versus Jason. I had seen that for the first time.
That's what I've noticed too.
Recently, and I thought it was great. But AVP is just one of those crossovers that always felt natural from the beginning. So.
It was very natural because I would see certain people who hated Freddy or Jason. You couldn't be on either team, but yeah, Alien and Predator always seemed to be kind of the natural. Once the Predator 2 Easter egg had the alien skull, it's like fans naturally felt like either of them could be in the same universe, same kind of way in which they were made, 50s monster movies, but instead of a Godzilla form, it's, more of a not a living dead.
I guess the Godzilla franchise is really the master of the verses.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we there's been, some news about AVP recently. People have noticed the
it's
anime
your job,
that's
so you're always hunting it down.
Sitting around. Yeah, we're always trying to get the latest updates.
You do good video work, by the way. So
thanks. Yeah, we try and build our YouTube channel. We're still relatively new at it, but
really
we're getting there.
I've been doing it for
well, it's more just the effort on the YouTube side, I think, is more what I'm saying.
Yeah, whatever works. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Once it becomes work, then it's no longer fun. But no, doing good, and obviously you got the merchandise to prove it. If it makes any difference, I got a Blade Runner poster right in front of me here. So.
Nice. Yeah.
It's as close as I get to the Wayland Yutuni company. But yeah, that's a good point. That and I'm glad to know that too, because I would see people dressed up as them. I mean, they weren't trying to freak anybody out. They weren't putting their hands on people. They weren't getting even political, even though they were playing Colonial Marines. You know, they're just very laid back and fun and silly. And I feel kind of like they are kind of like George Romero, you know, Dawn of the Dead, or even Terminator fans kind of in a way, where it's like it was already kind of a cult underground. And yes, there's some crossover with Freddy, Jason, and even Star Wars, but for the most part, it's kind of, I guess, kind of like even more like Star Trek, even, or Twilight Zone. A lot of people have seen it, but then there's even people who have collected all the merchandise and can tell you how deep the universe even is.
Yeah, it gets deeper than you'd think, you know, especially since like the RPG recently and all the different novels and comics and video games. It's been going on.
That's what was confusing about the books too, is like some of them are adaptations of the comics or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then some of them are original novels. Do you have any of those you would recommend that are easy to read?
Easily. There's
easily.
No, there's some absolute crackers, you know, some brilliant 5 out of 5s. If people are asking for recommendations, these are the ones you recommend. And it's from the new stuff, from Titan's run, is Aliens, the Cold Forge. Aliens.
Yes, for those who don't know, Titan Books is a big publisher of a lot of these based in the UK. Sorry, go ahead.
Alien into Charybdis. They were both written by the same author, Alex White, and they are fucking fantastic.
Sweet.
Then you've got Aliens Phalanx, which was by Scott Siegler, who's well known for some of his own sort of horror themed stuff.
Wow.
And that is the elevator pitch is Aliens in medieval time.
Oh, baby.
So it could have been ridiculously stupid, but it is an absolutely fantastic book that weaves in a proper sci-fi story into that sort of setting, and it works very well. I don't want to say more, because if you're interested in that, if anybody else listening is interested in that, I don't want to spoil it. But those 3 are the ones from the recent runs that are just you can't not recommend them. And then from the old run, from the ones you were talking about, you know, the adaptations of the comics, there's 2. The last 2 that were done, which is Aliens Berserker and Aliens Music of the Spear.
I've heard of Berserker. I don't remember where I heard of it, but yeah.
Those are brilliant. Really elevate the source material. And I think they are in... So Titan also republished all those as Omnibus. And I think they were Omnibus 6, I think it was. So you can get both of those in a single book, in a single omnibus. They were brilliant. Recommend. Those are my top 5.
Very nice.
Any advances on that, Adam?
The original, I mean, the adaptation of the AVP comic, AVP Prey, you know, by Bantam Books, that was always one of my favorites.
Oh,
I still haven't.
So they adapted the prequel movie Prey into a...
No, the book was called Prey, but it was
from
an
'94
of the first AVP comic. Yeah,
I see what you mean. Yes, and I see that there's Hunter's Planet and everything.
And then they did War as well. But Hunter's Planet and War are kind of like
alternate sequels.
Yeah.
That's what I've kind of noticed too, is like they're coming out the same thing, kind of telling the same thing, but not like they got alternate scenes. So think of it like a mirror universe, like freaking Doctor Who. Like this happened here and then that happened there.
Hunter's Planet was written before the sequel comic came out.
Oh, jeez.
So they didn't, it's not great, to be honest, but
I saw that there's another one on eBay, Rage.
The Rage War, yes.
The Rage War, okay.
That is fun. That was like a cross-media, cross-license kind of...
That's what I noticed too, because it was after the movies, and they were kind of keeping that part of the brand alive, the verses.
Yeah, we just reviewed all 3 of those again, and it was the first time I had read them, and I really enjoyed all of them. It was the first time AVP had tried to be like a space opera epic, I think, and it just it's not something I'd want the franchise to become overall, but in the space of that story itself, it really pulled it off.
I always describe it as soft, hard sci-fi, which sounds stupid as hell, but it's like trying to be like it was trying to be kind of like books like, you know, The Lost Fleet, while not being as hardcore with it. and it worked very well for it. The space opera description that Adam used is very apt. They're fun. I do recommend those, but they are very unlike any of the other Alien Predator stories.
That's good. I see that there's also a 7 Alien book collection: Out of the Shadows, Sea of Soko's, River of Pain, Invasion, Cold Forge, Prototype, and Isolation.
Yeah, there are other Titan ones. So Titan's been republishing them as omnibuses lately, as collections.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's from 2020.
A lot of them are generally solid. There's a few stinkers in there. But they're generally solid books.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it would be really awesome for AVP to make a comeback. We're still hoping for the Marvel launch of the new comics, and the comics we reread recently, Aaron, the original in War. I don't think there's an easy way for fans to get those right now without having previously owned them or finding a used copy. So hopefully Marvel and 20th Century Studios start to get AVP a bit more love. I mean, we can see from all this interest online about the shelved anime that people are still really curious about that. And the AVP movies did hurt that concept, I think. I mean, the first one did really well financially, but it was pretty mixed in reception. The second one was pretty almost universally panned, except for me. But
I like it now as a B picture and the Ripley gal, but yeah, when it first came out, the acting looked schlocky, and I hate to say it, both the extended cuts of these are actually, had the MPAA not freaked out and had they gone probably the R-rated route, they would have probably maybe even had a better fan base, because just there's so much shit that they fix if you watch those versions. But that's just it. If you watch shitty toned down version of a movie, it's not going to be the same ever.
Yeah, that's always the problem when you're trying to adapt these notoriously violent and adult films.
Yeah, for a while they were arguing about making Hellraiser an anthology show. I'm so glad they did it with Hulu, and they just said, hey, just make it a giant, just rehash different people, even different characterizations, just go your own route with it.
And to be fair, Prey, talking about individual series here, Prey was that breath of fresh air for Predator.
Prey 2 would be perfect, and it might even be the best direct-to-video made for TV movie of all time. Straight to Hulu.
It's a goddamn good movie.
It's too good for TV.
It was. I mean, fortunately, there were some theatrical showings.
Were there? All right. But see, those are still like limited.
Yeah, they were very, very limited, very special kind of
for
showings.
Investors. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the film premiered in, was it New York, Adam? Where you went?
Toronto for the Predator in 2018.
No, not the Predator, Prey.
Oh no, Comic-Con. So San Diego.
San Diego.
Okay, so there you go. But I don't think they showed the whole thing, did they?
Yeah, no, they did.
Yeah, it was a full premiere of the movie, so it was about 2 weeks before its wide release. And Aaron, I know you got to go to a gala screening in the UK about a week.
UK premiere,
yeah. And it was awesome to see it in theaters. The energy in the crowd was great. The crowd in the theater loved it, and us personally, like I feel like it did so much for the Predator franchise. 2018 had its defenders, but it was pretty widely negative received among the fan base, I think. So having something that was much more successful, I mean, not only among fan reception, but just for Hulu.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting another Predator movie for quite a while. So Prey kind of took us by surprise when we had first.
Oh, it took everyone by surprise, I think, mainly because everyone else was threatening to press the remake button, and Fox was doing all other kinds of stupid shit where it's like, oh, no, this cannot be happening.
And I think we're all kind of hoping that Fede Alvarez's Alien film's going to be along the same lines as this breath of fresh air, that reinvigorates.
You really think they're going to do another one? I know they imagined it.
They are.
Yeah, it's filming right now in Budapest.
AVP free.
Oh, no. New Alien movie.
Oh, well, I know there's the TV show, but I know Holly, so...
Yeah, that one hasn't started filming yet. That one is still in pre-production, but there is a standalone film coming out for Hulu, similar to like how Prey did, but it's an Alien film. And so this is hopefully going to be out next year, if we're lucky, maybe even sooner, but most likely next year.
It's a shame. I would love it if they could still use some of Neil Blomkamp's key artwork, the District 9 Elysium guy.
Yeah, people will never let go of that one. I mean, I still hope they could make it into a graphic novel or give us an art book or
Well,
anime
because
or
Sigourney
something.
Weaver already said, hey, I'm no longer playing Ripley or doing Ghostbusters, just like, and this is what's funny is that a week later, I see the same thing where Arnold's like done playing the Terminator. Like, everyone's, I mean, I don't know why that even came up since Dark Fate was intended to be the last one. So yeah, it is interesting how everyone's just like,
Jim said he's writing a new one.
Didn't you say like he was going to wait to see what happens with AI or something?
He said he'd started writing a new one, but he's put it on pause while he waits to see what happens with the AI.
I don't see how that can happen since he's dedicated to Avatar.
It was a very recent. I think it was like this week, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it was pretty recent. I mean, I know he's already filmed most of Avatar 3. I think he said he may try and find someone to do the further Avatar sequels.
Yeah, part 4 and 5 won't be him, but he'll still come up with the script, and he might hire a Rodriguez type who's adapted his work before. But yeah, it's engrossing, and it's kind of even hurts your head even more. Have you seen how he's mentioned Wayland Yutundi Easter eggs into Avatar?
I haven't. No, I mean Avatar.
Yeah, go on the Wiki. You'll find even more.
I'll have to look that up. I mean, we've always kind of got the sense that the Operations Center was very much inspired from Aliens in the original.
I thought the Colonial Marines were a total homage, but then all the other stuff is like there are some Easter eggs in there. He's not playing around, and it's already meta enough as it is. How Edward James almost tried to sneak in as many Blade Runner dialogue and Easter eggs as he could when he was on Battlestar Galactica, which is even wilder because there's even Firefly Easter eggs on that show. Long story short. So I just love it when I see creators unofficially create their own universe and expand it even more.
It's hard not to include little tips of the hat to the things you love in their life.
Yeah, it's
like the Firefly thing in Battlestar, when it's when she's in the doctor's office, isn't it? And it flies above.
Yeah, there's that and a few other ones.
I mean,
but
Millennium Falcon's in Star Trek. Did you know that?
Yes, I did in First Contact. But there's plenty of Star Trek Easter eggs. But like they're so explicitly trying to make Blade Runner references when they use the term skin job as well as using the exact same guns. So it's just funny when people who love something so much they'll make as many meta comments, and it's already blows your mind, kind of like the St. Elsewhere universe. Tom Fontana and Dick Wolf will insert a Law and Order or Homicide character in one of their other shows, and it's just cool to see that amount of dedication because it doesn't always pay off,
Yeah, I mean, it does also run the risk of overloading people as well with all these.
Right, I refuse to acknowledge that is part of my universe. Yeah. Oh man. But this has been a delight having you all on, and anything you would care to promote?
Adam, I'll let you do. I hate doing this.
Sure. I mean, so we run a fan site, avpgalaxy.net. We also have a presence on most social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you search AVP Galaxy or Alien vs. Predator Galaxy, you're sure to find us. But thanks again for having us on, Cam.
We'd love to have you back. You guys,
I mean, hopefully your fans, check out AVP if they haven't already, and drum up some of that excitement. So
we want to bring all the franchises back instead of just wait for people to offer it on streaming. We want to remind everyone it's still a thing. Or some awesome crossovers, but we're even having to remind people of other awesome crossovers like RoboCop and Transformers comics.
Well, the Transformers hasn't there been a Star Trek crossover there as well recently? Transformers and the original.
Yes.
Crew. Yeah.
As well as the Terminator one.
Yeah, Transformers has had a lot of crossovers.
And a G.I. Joe one.
Well, they were both Marvel properties back in the 80s,
then there was an X-Men one too. It's just, but this is why I like some of the other versus matches, because the Predator got to fight both Batman and Painkiller Jane and Judge Dredd, just like the Terminator. So
Alien got Green Lantern as well, Superman.
I forgot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Alien and Predator, and
people
even some
get cute
AVP
once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's just fun.
Wildcats.
Yeah. Wild.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much.
Anytime, guys. Welcome back anytime. If you even have just a topic you randomly want to let's have you on.
Cool. Thanks again for having us, man. Take care.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show.